So Nintendo has released the Nintendo Switch pricing. The console is $450 or so, but the game is Mario Kart World is going to be $90 digital, and or $80 digital, $90 physical, and I think that's like crazy. The thing about me is it doesn't really affect me personally because I do not buy games day one for the most part. The only game I bought day one was Final Fantasy 16, which I regret, 15, which I definitely regret. I hated 15. But yeah, and I bought, which oddly enough I'm playing right now, Sunshine, Mario 3D All Stars. Now the thing about there might have been a few others I bought, like gifts like Resident Evil Remake, 4, Resident Evil 4 Remake. Like I said, it's very rare I buy games day one or full price, so this doesn't affect me at all. I'm laughing at the people that do buy those games day one. GameFly's about to get some serious new customers for sure. A lot of people's like, oh, the GameFly still exists. And yeah, they've been around since before Redbox, so they've outlasted Redbox. I think that was before Netflix. No, not Netflix. No, I'm talking about the physical. But yeah, so this is big news. A lot of people is like, oh yeah, the gaming crash is about to happen, which it might, if you're willing to speak with your wallets. You got to speak with your wallets, people. Now, I'm speaking to the internet fans. They're a completely different audience than casual, so we don't know. We're not going to be able to control or sway those people, which is the masses. It's like the wrestling community. It's like the internet fans have a certain way of thinking about wrestling, and everybody else has their own way, right? It's the same way with anything. The hardcore, the vocal minority, as we call it, is just we're a different type of brain. We're a different audience. So no matter what we say, it won't matter. It's all about the masses and who is going to pay full price for these video games. Now, the defense is, and the one thing I've heard over the years for this is inflation. Games back on the Nintendo 64 games were $60 back in 1995 or six or whatever. I'm like, well, when I growed up, it was $50 for a PlayStation game. I know that much, brand new, and they was $20. Almost all games were about $20. Not long after the about a year or two, most games there was a full list. Walmart had a full display of PlayStation 1 games, all $20. There was a few newer games that was 30, 40, and 50, right? And so that's the pricing in 1999 or 2000 or so, from what I remember in the United States, in Alabama. So you think, okay, games went up about $10 after that. $60 was too much, anyways, but it was doable in a way. The thing is, the defense is where I have it. It's inflation doesn't matter. Inflation doesn't matter because wages have not gone up. Minimum wage has. Minimum wage has gone up way up, at least compared to then, probably. It might have been $4. I'm not sure. I was a kid. I was like 9 years old back then, 10 years old, and so minimum wage has gone up. I know it was $6 when I was in 2008. Around $6. That was my first job. It was about $6. Hardee's. I worked there 3 days, but I wasn't ready. My mental health was like, no. I was just sitting around for years after dropping out of high school. I had like nothing going on for me, but it is only went up since 2008, $1.25. think it was 605 or something like that. I think the minimum wage was. But yeah, 725 in about like 2000. I know I had a 725 job in 2011. I was working at Walmart, my second job. Like I said, I had no willpower back then. I had no drive. I was just. If you've seen any of my older videos, you'll know why. But. So it has been, what? At least maybe 15 years? 15 years. Minimum wage has not gone up. Well, I say it's 15. Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, that's crazy to me. I keep forgetting it's 2025, not 2020. Time is getting crazy fast. I hate getting older. Getting grays. Got so many gray hairs. But getting thinner too. Turning 35 on April 20th. 420, baby. Don't even smoke. But yeah. So, man, 15 years, no increase. But you know what has increased? Is that even the word to use? Exponentially? I can't. I try not to use words I don't use it very often because it's like, am I using it right? But anyways, it rose a lot, right? And did I say rent? Yeah. Rent, just cost of living, period. Not just rent, everything, food, everything went up so much in the last 5 years or 4 years, let alone the last 15. And it's went up before then too. So the thing is, wages have not gone up. It really hasn't. People like to say it does, but it hasn't. Wages have like just pretty much stagnant. Now the defense to that is nobody's paying minimum wage anymore, hardly. There is some jobs I've seen on the job search where it's like $10. There's a few $10. It's usually about 12. That's like the low ball offers. And I look at those like $12 an hour. Like, what are you, crazy? Who's going to work there? It's usually like nursing assistants and stuff like that. I'm like, really? You know, and I'm making less than I made in Alabama, but I didn't mind because I was living with my ex, and we was living together. You don't need as much income necessarily, but we was still living decently together, and she was making like $11 an hour. So I was making 14, and she was making 11, but she had a cheap mortgage, which she got, I guess, before COVID. Prices risen, so it works out when you get something in the past. So buy when the cost of living is low, and then you'll luck out. That's actually a good idea, but anyway. So now that I'm on my own, and my rent alone is a little bit more than she was paying, but I'm on like bare bones apartment here. I have like the cheapest apartment in Tennessee, and that I've seen. And I still barely get by. But of course, granted, I do have a normal car payment. It's the average payment, like $500. So, but it's a new car, so my insurance, oh my God, insurance rates are so high. And then it's even higher with a new car, which I knew would probably go up. But in my mind, I was like, oh, it's a new car. Nothing will go wrong with it, is what I was thinking. But I guess if something does go wrong with it, it'll probably cost more. So I didn't think about that aspect. So I didn't really research that. So it went up like $50 when I got a new car. And that was a blow, for sure. I've kind of worked out. I'm almost paying off a credit card, so that's one less payment. And now I'm working 4 days a week instead of 5. So that'll help out. So this is my off day. My 3 days off. Thank God. I love this. But so saving gas, and I drive 40 minutes. And since I'm going to move in with my girlfriend soon, I'm not worried about it, And I knew I was probably going to move in with her for a while. So I've been kind of just coasting, driving this 40 minutes. Some people drive 30 minutes. It's not, it's just 10 more minutes than, a decent amount of people drive. So it's like, it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, it still costs me about $120 a month in gas. So I was like, saving one trip per week times four, that's a good amount of gas. That'll save me at least about $25, and then, paying off a credit card. And I just realized I'm going on a tangent. I get sidetracked. My brain, the way it works is like I have multiple thoughts, and I get like hyper focused. But anyways, so yeah, even if I got paid more, even if I had a few, cheaper car payment, I did have to refinance my car, but it was still the same price. So even if I got my cost of living a little bit lower, I still can barely pay, luxury items like video games at full price. Even when I was making bank, I was making a lot of money, making it around the same amount as I am now, having the same amount of, almost about the same apartment, but I was having a lot of overtime. So, in order for me to get more money, now I have to DoorDash or Spark. So, but I just don't care about buying games new anyways. I'd rather wait for a price drop. The thing about Nintendo, and this is the issue I had with the GameCube, all the way back to the GameCube. Now, I had a GameCube back in the day. My mom, she didn't work for the majority of the time. We lived off of like child support and stuff. I'm against that, by the way. I do not support child support because it's like people can just take advantage of it. It doesn't all go towards the child. It should be like your part for the child, not paying their freaking, some people paying like $400 or more. Some people probably paying $1,000 based on your income. And it's like, that ain't fair. That's not what it costs to support a child. But whatever, women will go around, spending alimony and spending child support. Now I'm going on another tangent, I just realized that. But anyways, but yeah, I've never bought games new, and going all the way back to the GameCube, games were they never dropped in price. They was always expensive, and not having much money that my mom gave me, I couldn't really buy games very often for that system. And it's like, I would always end up like, okay, well, if I can buy any game this month, it will be one of the bargain bin games from the PlayStation 2, which I also had. So I'd end up always choosing a PlayStation game because it was cheaper, and I would rather have something to play than nothing at all. And so my GameCube was collecting dust for a while, so I ended up selling it. Regretted it for many years. Never ended up beating Metroid Prime. Oh, and I remember regretting that for years until I played it on emulator and couldn't get into it. There was too much back and forth and not knowing what to do, and just like, just complete. I hate being lost too much. I like figuring things out, but it was like just no idea of where to go. So it was a lot of just like running around, not knowing, just, it felt like it was just wasting time, so I really couldn't get into Metroid Prime. I want to play the remake though. I really want to play the remake because it has the controls, the updated controls. I feel like it would add to it, So, and one of these days I'm going to beat Metroid Fusion, which I've had on my phone emulator multiple times over the years, and I've always gotten pretty far in the game. And I end up not playing it because I'm not a handheld guy. So I always end up getting really far in Metroid Fusion. Because this is at least the second time I've gotten really, really far. And I just stopped playing it. And I was like, why? Because I'm not a handheld guy. I keep just not getting into that mindset of playing. One of these days, though, if they ever release that game somewhere else, like officially, I'm playing that game and I'm going, on a console, and I'm going to beat it. It got very hard towards the end to the point where I had to get like a backbone type controller for my phone. It was like an off-brand version, and I still have it. I think it's in my backpack, but And I got further, but I got into an even harder area where it's like, okay. And so, mm, man. But Nintendo, they do not drop their prices. And so we're going to look at an $80 game that's probably going to stay $80 for a good amount of time. It might go on sale. I think that Nintendo does have sales here and there, but it might go to 60. And you're like, that'll be a good deal. Of course, I don't play Mario Kart. I don't play. That's a multiplayer game. I don't feel like it's a good single player game, and I don't really play with people. I played Mario Kart at my girlfriend's Thanksgiving dinner because their family was all playing it, and I could barely see anything because the TV was far away, and you know, I got to play with the TV pretty close because my eyesight is atrocious. I need glasses, but I refuse. I'm definitely not getting laser surgery one of these days. I'm scared of that because they can blind people. Maybe I should do more research. Maybe don't blind people like maybe it takes a real fuck up. But even then, losing my sight is one of my worst fears because I'm a gamer. I love movies and stuff, and it's like losing your sight is the worst. You know, I'd rather have a little bit of a what do you call it, farsighted issue than being blind. I'm telling you. I can see pretty good. I just can't read small font. You know, in another side tangent, and this will be a short one. Why in the world? There's 60% of people that wear glasses. 60% of people. That was the statistic I read or heard years ago. That is the majority. If the majority needs glasses, why do they need glasses? Make font bigger. That's a little rant for you on that. I've been ranting about that for years whenever I think about it. It should not be the norm for people that has good vision when obviously most people don't have that good vision. You should be considered abnormal to have good vision. But anyway, that's, you know, so anybody who says, oh, games have to go up in price, no. Games do not need to go up in price. Either you bring that shit down, you budget your game to where everybody can afford it for the fact that the cost of living is atrocious, or you find a better way of like making the game, making smaller games for half price, and we'll buy piece by piece. I don't fucking know. Subscription model to a game or something. I don't know. Like, I would rather do a subscription. I can't even pay for PlayStation Plus anymore. It's been a year since I've had it. But the reason is because I have a bunch of physical games that I'm trying to completely go digital, and so I want to just completely clean out all my physical games, and and I'm not going to end up, and then I can just like get rid of them, and so a little bit of an OCD thing, but anyways, yeah. So just have my library completely digital because I don't buy physical anymore. I will buy physical if the deal's right, like Black Friday or something. Buy two get one free type thing. But it seemed like the last few Black Fridays, it's just there's nothing. Well, I call it Black November because it's like the whole month has deals. Black Friday really isn't any better than any other day. It's the same as the rest of the month. I would at least say the second week of that month anyway. That's when the deals start coming in. Then Cyber Monday. It used to be just Cyber Monday and Black Friday, but now it's like the whole month. But anyways, that might be a way of doing it. But the only way I could see me playing these Nintendo games, I do really want to play that Donkey Kong game. That looks amazing. Because I loved Mario Odyssey. I'm playing Mario Sunshine right now. It's a lot better than I expected. Because I played it years ago when not too long after I played Mario 64. and I liked it, but I was like, I just wasn't in the mood for that type of game. And I play, so I've been kind of wanting to wait for the Switch 2 to play it again because I really hate going back to a hard drive or yeah, a normal hard drive because the load times. But Mario Sunshine really plays fine. There ain't really no load times, so it's kind of working out. Um, and then, it still resumes like any other console, so that's good. So I don't really have an issue with the hard drive of the Switch. I actually just realized they haven't announced well, it's still an SD card, I guess, but and yeah, I meant to say SD card, but anyway, I would maybe there's like solid state drive SD card type things, something where it's like fast. I know they have faster loading ones. I'm curious if I got a fast loading one. It's been so I got mine back when pretty much launch year, so I can't remember. I didn't even touch the damn thing since then, and I never filled it up, so I got a pretty decent one. It was a budget one, so but I don't keep a bunch of games on the system at once. Keep about 3, delete the rest, and even if I had a bigger hard drive on any system, I still wouldn't do it just because I don't care. I don't need like 10 games on the system. I might put 5. I might put like the game I'm playing, the game I'm about to play, the game I might play if I can't get into that game, and then maybe 2 other like smaller games, like puzzle games or something like that, to kind of kill the monotony. That's the way I do it. And then I don't even bother after that. It might go to 7 games if I like. There's a game I'm like playing, but I don't want to delete for whatever reason. I want to get back to one day. I might have an extra, or to remind me to play that game because sometimes I forget. Like to this day, I still have Star Ocean 4 I got to play, and one of these days I'm gonna play it, but we'll see. I love Star Ocean 3. Beat it twice. Nothing. Anyways, guys, what do you guys think about Nintendo and how the inflation mainly is the main topic I wanted to discuss for the pricing, because it's like, yeah, sure, games have cost the same amount for like 2-3 decades, just about, at least for Nintendo, because they had cartridges which cost more than CDs, I believe is what they said. So that's why Nintendo 64 apparently was more expensive. I don't know. But, back in the early 90s, they say it was like $80 for games, which is crazy to me to think that games actually went or were higher in the early 90s than they were in the late 90s. So that's the thing. It's like we're not making enough money to really, like, who would spend $80 on a game? Like, to me, that is insane. When Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out and it's $100, and we're all at this point assuming it's going to be, I'm not buying it. Are you going to buy it? I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some hype. If you have enough money, you will. But if you do that, you're speaking with your wallet to say that's okay to charge that. Now, a lot of people will be like, I don't care. I don't care. I want the game. I don't care. I don't care about the principle. I don't care about the speaking with the wallet. They're just like, buy the game quickly. And then what happens? You voted to keep this practice. By paying for this game at $100, you have voted for the games to completely stay this price. Now, granted, it might work for Grand Theft Auto. It might not work for like an annual release, like a basketball game, a wrestling game, football game, whatever. I'm not sure. Those games sell well, so we'll see. Assassin's Creed every year minimum. I mean, well, I don't know. I haven't played Assassin's Creed since 2, but it has a decent audience. But like Far Cry, it gets ridiculed for the tropes and stuff. It's basically the same game over and over again, different location. Makes me wonder why they haven't done the same thing with the Grand Theft Auto. Like they can make Grand Theft Auto 6, but where is the games in between? There could have been 3 or 4 games that used Five's engine, that used the assets that Five is. Like, why? All you had to do, even if it was the same city, even if it was the same cars, even if it was the same graphics, exactly. Why hasn't there been an expansion of some kind, standalone expansion, which would be a video game? And I keep wondering why there ain't standalone DLCs, which there's so many games that come out, and it's like, why are we only focusing on new, built from scratch games? You do realize there's a reason why Yakuza comes out every other year, right? Because they reuse the same assets. They don't have to go, oh, the next game has to be this massive change, this massive way of like changing the industry. No, you don't have to do that with Elder Scrolls either. Like, if you want to do that with the next big Elder Scrolls, sure, but be making other Elder Scrolls until then. Be making smaller ones. Have a team that's focusing on the future, right? But giving ideas, waiting for that out, but then and making other games too. But have that team. Let's just focus on. Let's just make another Elder Scrolls. Nothing ambitious, graphic wise. Nothing ambitious, features wise. Just new area. Everybody loves New Vegas. I know I'm one of the ones who hates New Vegas, or didn't. I don't hate New Vegas. New Vegas to me is just completely overrated. My least favorite of the 3D Fallout games, right? And so with Fallout New Vegas, my main issue with that game was it was basically an expansion to 3. Had its own thing with ammunition and all that. That's about it. That's the only, like, it had like a little bit of physics differences. You had costume differences. Like you could dress like you had factions and all that stuff. So you had little details that was different, but other than that, it was basically the same game. Graphics wise, maybe there might have been some differences, but physics wise, it was definitely the same. And other than the speed, I remember thinking how fast ghouls were, and some of the bees. A lot of the monsters were just much faster, but I would say the difficulty was a little bit nicer. But other than that, it was you basically getting the same game. RPG shooter. Emphasis on the RPG. Fallout 4 was emphasis on the shooter. And it focused less on the statistics and more on the upgrading over, like upgrading your guns and stuff like that instead of just the leveling tree. A lot of people's like, oh, it's a dumbed down. No, it just levels up in a different way. But whatever. I've defended Fallout 4 too many times. Yeah, I love Fallout 4. It's one of my favorites. I'm still not sure if I like it more than 3 though. But I adore that game for sure. But even Fallout 4, like Fallout 4 was different, sure, different enough. But it still had so much of the same, So it didn't need to do this complete overhaul. The upgrade was like the physics and the graphics were a lot better too. But okay, it was a leap, but it wasn't some massive leap. But the thing is, you're not going to get a massive leap. You keep thinking you are. Like, okay, Red Dead 2 was a massive leap from 1, because Red Dead 2 was the best looking game on the PlayStation 4. That and Last of Us 2. Now, even Last of Us 2 compared to 1 was a massive leap. But that's about it. We have not even gotten better graphics since. The PlayStation 5 is out. Yeah, I think Demon's Souls is the only game, maybe a few others, that has better graphics. There's barely any difference, and it's not consistent because it's not sustainable. You can't, profit off of this. So I'm actually okay in a way, like profit wise. Yes, it makes sense that games are increasing, but we can't pay for it. So something has to give. Now, if you pay for it, you'll screw up everything by like I said, voting for games to stay that price. Now, if you don't, that means games will have to be budgeted better. That means games will be more consistently lower budget. They won't keep chasing the latest trends and latest graphics. But that ain't going to happen, I'm sure. I'm sure people still give them reason to make these massive budgets, Man. And there's a reason why, so many games are sequels. Movies are all Marvel and sequels and familiar IP. But anyway, I've spoken enough about it. What do you guys think? Like I said, comment below. I've ranted enough. I've side tangent enough.